The massive alien ship moved through space like a silent predator. Its dark metal hull was covered in spikes and sharp edges that made it look like a giant insect. Inside the ship, Commander Kyle stood in front of a large window, watching the small blue and green planet below. His 6 eyes glowed red with excitement as he studied the human colony. Kyle was a Vorthak, a species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. He was tall, with gray skin like stone and claws that could cut through metal. His people were born hunters. They traveled from world to world, finding new species to hunt for sport and food. To them, other races were just prey animals. "Commander," said one of his soldiers, walking up behind him, "we have finished studying the creatures on this planet. They call themselves humans." Kale turned around, his mouth showing sharp teeth in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Tell me about these humans. Are they worth hunting?" The soldier looked at his datapad. "They are small, Commander. They have no claws, no thick skin, no poison. They walk on 2 legs and seem very weak. Their technology is basic compared to ours. They use simple metal tools and burn fuel to power their machines." "Boring," Kale said, turning back to the window. "But the High Council wants fresh meat for the games next month. These humans will have to do." Down on the planet's surface, in the human colony of New Seoul, Dae-ho Kim was having his morning coffee and reading reports. He was the colonial administrator, which meant he was in charge of making sure everything ran smoothly in their small settlement. The colony had been built 3 years ago, and now over 10,000 people called it home. Dae-ho was a former soldier from Earth's Defense Force. He had fought in the border wars against space pirates years ago. Now he was older and preferred the quiet life of managing supply shipments and settling disputes between neighbors. But something felt wrong today. He couldn't explain it, but his old soldier instincts were telling him danger was coming. Soo-jin Park knocked on his office door and walked in. She was the chief of colonial security, a tough woman who had also served in the military. "Dae-ho, we're getting strange readings from our sensors. There's something big out there in space, but we can't see it." "How big?" Dae-ho asked, setting down his coffee. "Ship-sized. Maybe bigger. It's like something is there, but our equipment can't lock onto it properly." Soo-jin looked worried. "I've never seen anything like it." Before Dae-ho could answer, all the lights in the building went out. The computer screens went black. Outside, they could hear people shouting as power died all across the colony. Emergency sirens started wailing, but even those began to fade as their backup power failed. "Electromagnetic pulse," Soo-jin said grimly. "Someone just fried every piece of electronics in the colony." High above them, Commander Kale watched as his ships became visible, their cloaking devices turning off now that they had disabled the human technology. Dozens of Vorthak hunting ships appeared in the sky like dark clouds. Each ship was filled with hunters eager for the chase. "Begin the hunt," Kyle ordered. "Remember, we want them alive if possible. Dead meat spoils too quickly." The first wave of Vorthak hunters landed in the colony's main square. They expected to find scared, helpless creatures running around in panic. Instead, they found something else entirely. Dae-ho had served in 3 wars. The moment the power went out, his military training kicked in. He grabbed his emergency kit from under his desk, which contained an old-style radio that still worked without computer chips. "All security teams, this is Dae-ho. We are under attack. Implement Emergency Protocol 7 immediately." Soo-jin was already moving, pulling weapons from a locked cabinet. These were simple firearms that would still work even after an electromagnetic pulse. "Young Soo, get to the mining depot," she said into her radio. "We need those explosives." Young Soo, Lee was the colony's mining engineer. When the power went out, he was working in the mines outside town. He heard Soo-jin's message on his backup radio and quickly gathered his demolition charges. As a mining expert, he knew how to make things explode. He had a feeling that skill would be very useful today. Mira Choi was in the communications center when the attack began. She was trying to fix the main transmitter when she saw the alien ships landing through her window. Her first thought was to get a message to Earth, but the aliens had jammed all the regular communication channels. She would have to find another way. The Vorthak hunters stepped out of their ships expecting easy prey. They carried energy nets and stun weapons, tools designed to capture rather than kill. Their leader, a massive warrior named Grek, looked around at the human buildings with disgust. "Ugly structures," he growled to his hunting pack. "These creatures have no artistic sense. Round up the young ones first. They taste better." But as the Vorthak moved through the streets, they discovered something unexpected. The humans were not running away screaming. Instead, they were organized. They moved in groups, helping each other reach safe positions. Some humans were setting up barriers using heavy mining equipment. Others were taking positions on rooftops with weapons. Grek was confused. In all his years of hunting, prey animals always ran when predators appeared. These humans seemed to be preparing to fight back. Young Su had reached the mining depot and was loading explosive charges into a cart. He knew the colony's layout better than anyone. If these aliens wanted to hunt humans, he would show them that humans could be very dangerous when cornered. The first real clash happened near the school. A group of Vorthak hunters had surrounded the building, planning to capture the human children inside. They expected an easy catch. Instead, they found themselves facing Deho and 20 armed colonists who had set up a defensive position. "Fire!" Deho shouted. The colonists opened fire with their simple but effective weapons. The Vorthak were shocked. Their prey was shooting back. Several hunters fell, wounded by the primitive but deadly human firearms. The others took cover, suddenly very confused about what was happening. Grek heard the gunfire over his communication device. "Report," he demanded. "The prey, they're fighting back," came the worried reply. "They have weapons. They know how to use them." For the first time in his life, Grek felt something he had never experienced before. It was a cold feeling in his stomach, a sudden awareness that maybe he was not the most dangerous thing on this planet. Commander Kale watched the battle from his ship, his 6 eyes wide with surprise. In all the galaxy's history, the Vorthak had never encountered prey that fought back so effectively. These humans were supposed to be weak and helpless. Instead, they were proving to be dangerous opponents. The hunt was not going as planned. High Warlord Thek sat on his throne made of bones from 100 different species. The massive Vorthak leader was twice the size of a normal hunter, his body covered in scars from countless battles. When Commander Kale's report reached him, Thex laughed so hard that the sound echoed through his warship. "The prey fights back?" Thex roared with amusement. "This makes it interesting. Send more hunting packs. I want these humans broken and brought to the arena. Fighting prey always tastes better when you finally catch it." Thex had ruled the Vorthak Empire for 300 years. He had seen species try to resist before. They all fell in the end. These humans would be no different. If anything, their resistance would make the eventual victory more satisfying. Back on the planet, Deho was turning the colony's community center into a command post. Maps covered every table, showing the locations of alien landing sites and human defensive positions. Sujin stood beside him, marking enemy movements with red pins. "They have us surrounded," Sujin said, studying the map. "But they're not pressing. They're attack. It's like they're playing with us." "That's exactly what they're doing," Deho replied grimly. "I've seen this before with space pirates. They enjoy the hunt more than the kill. They want us afraid." Young Su entered the room, his hands dirty from working with explosives. "I've set charges at all the main entry points to the colony. If they want to come in, they'll have to pay a price for it." Mira was working frantically at a jury-rigged radio system. "I'm trying to punch a signal through their jamming. If I can reach Earth, they might send help." "Don't count on it," Deho said. "Earth is 3 months away, even with the fastest ships. We're on our own." Outside the colony, more Vorthak ships were landing. These new hunters were different from the first wave. They were bigger, more experienced, with better weapons and armor. They had been called in specifically to deal with difficult prey. Hunter Prime Vex led this second wave. He was an elite hunter who had never failed to break a species. His job was to crush the human resistance and remind them that they were just animals in the Vorthak food chain. "Forget the capture nets," Vex told his hunting pack. "Use pain weapons. Break their bodies and their spirits. Once they remember their place, They will surrender. The second attack began at dawn. The Vorthak hunters moved through the colony streets with confidence, their energy weapons crackling with deadly power. They expected the humans to break and run when faced with superior firepower. Instead, they walked into Young-Su's trap. The explosions shook the ground like earthquakes. Buildings that the humans had already evacuated came crashing down on top of the alien hunters. Carefully placed mining charges turned familiar streets into deadly mazes of rubble and fire. Vex barely escaped the first explosion, diving behind a concrete barrier as his hunting pack was scattered. "What kind of prey sets traps?" he snarled into his communicator. "The dangerous kind," came Sujin's voice from a hidden speaker that Mira had rigged up. She had managed to hack into the alien communication system. "Welcome to Earth's hunting ground." The psychological warfare had begun. Sujin's team had been studying the captured alien equipment from the first attack. They learned that the Vorthak communicated through both sound and smell. Mira had figured out how to broadcast false signals that confused their hunting instincts. Indeed, the colony school, teacher Jin Woo-yoon was keeping 30 children calm and quiet. When the building shook from explosions outside, he activated the emergency plan they had practiced many times. The children knew exactly what to do. "Remember," Jin Woo whispered to them, "we are not helpless. We are strong when we work together." The children nodded, their young faces serious but not afraid. They had been taught that humans survived by being smart, not by being the biggest or strongest. Today they would prove it. A group of Vorthak hunters broke into the school expecting to find terrified children. Instead, they found an empty building. The hunters searched room by room, growing more frustrated as they found nothing but abandoned classrooms. They never thought to look up. Children were hiding in the ceiling, moving silently through maintenance tunnels that adults would be too big to use. Jinwoo had taught them this escape route months ago, just in case pirates or other dangers ever threatened the colony. But the children were not just hiding, they were hunting. As the Vorthak hunters spread out through the school, the children began their attack. Small hands dropped heavy objects from ceiling panels onto alien heads. Fire extinguishers rolled downstairs, tripping the hunters and sending them crashing into walls. The children used their knowledge of every hiding spot and secret passage to turn the school into a maze of confusion. The final surprise came when the hunters cornered what they thought was one lost child in the cafeteria. Little Sujin, only 8 years old, stood alone in the middle of the room. The hunters approached her slowly, enjoying what they thought would be an easy capture. Sujin smiled and pressed a button on a small device. The cafeteria's industrial kitchen equipment exploded in a shower of sparks and steam. Emergency foam filled the room, blinding the hunters while hidden speakers played deafening sirens. In the chaos, Jin Woo and the other children emerged from their hiding places with sports equipment turned into weapons. When the foam cleared, the hunters found themselves surrounded by 30 children holding baseball bats, hockey sticks, and kitchen knives. More importantly, they were trapped in a room with all exits blocked. "Surrender," said little Sujin in perfectly calm voice, "or we will show you what human children do to monsters." Hunter Prime Vex received the surrender message from his trapped team with disbelief. His elite hunters, defeated by human children? It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was terrifying. For the first time in Vorthak history, a hunting pack had been captured by their prey. The humans didn't kill their prisoners. Instead, they studied them. Daeho had served in intelligence during his military career. He knew how to extract information without torture. Simple questions, patient waiting, and careful observation told him everything he needed to know about Vorthak technology and tactics. More importantly, the humans learned about Vorthak psychology. These aliens were predators, but they were used to being the only predators. They had never faced prey that fought back intelligently. Their entire society was built around the idea that they were superior to all other life forms. That confidence was starting to crack. Sujin organized the colony's defenses into something the Vorthak had never seen before: coordinated resistance. Groups of humans worked together, sharing information and resources. When aliens attacked one area, Humans in other areas would launch counterattacks. When the aliens tried to surround human positions, they found themselves surrounded instead. Young-Soo had turned the entire colony into a weapon. Every building had been rigged with explosives or traps. Every street had been prepared as a killing ground. The aliens could advance, but every step forward cost them more hunters. Mira finally managed to break through the alien jamming and send a message toward Earth. But she also did something else. She broadcast a message to any other alien species that might be listening. This is the human colony of New Sol. Her message said, "We are under attack by the Vorthak Empire. We are not running. We are not surrendering. We are fighting back, and we are winning." Across the galaxy, enslaved species heard her words with amazement. Prey that fought back. Prey that won battles against the mighty Vorthak. It seemed impossible, but the evidence was right there in Mira's transmission. For the first time in thousands of years, hope began to spread among the galaxy's victims. Commander Kale stared at his tactical display in growing alarm. His losses were mounting. His hunters were reporting strange fears and nightmares. Some were even refusing to leave their ships. The humans had done something that no prey species had ever managed. They had made the Vorthak afraid. High Warlord Thex's laughter had stopped. The reports from the human colony were no longer amusing. They were disturbing. How could mere prey animals fight so effectively? How could they turn the hunters into the hunted? For the first time in his long life, Thex began to wonder if perhaps the Vorthak had finally found prey that was more dangerous than they were. The Galactic Hunting Council met in the ancient chamber on Vorthak Prime. 12 of the most powerful Vorthak leaders sat around a table made from the fossilized remains of their first conquest. They had not gathered like this for over a century, but the reports from the human colony demanded their attention. "These humans are making us look weak," growled War Chief Mordak, his scarred face showing anger. "Other prey species are hearing about this. They might get ideas." High Warlord Thex slammed his massive fist on the table. "Then we crush these humans completely. Send the elite hunter castes. Send every warrior we have if necessary. The galaxy must remember why they fear us." The decision was made. The most experienced and deadly Vorthak hunters in the galaxy would be sent to the human colony. These were warriors who had conquered entire civilizations. They had never failed, never shown mercy, never retreated from any battle. Back on the planet, a new human had arrived in the colony. Tae-Min-jo had been a special forces operative on Earth before becoming a colonial surveyor. When the attacks began, his old training returned like muscle memory. He was calm, focused, and extremely dangerous when he needed to be. "We can't just defend anymore," Tae-Min told Daeho during a strategy meeting. "Defense wins battles, but it doesn't win wars. We need to take the fight to them." Daeho studied the newest reports from their scouts. "You're talking about attacking aliens with superior technology and numbers. That's suicide." "No," Tae-Min said quietly. "That's hunting." Dr. Ha-Young Nam had been the colony's xenobiologist, studying alien plant life for possible medical uses. Now she was studying something much more dangerous: captured Vorthak prisoners. Her research had revealed important secrets about their enemy. "They're not as tough as they look," she reported to the Leadership Council. "Their bones are dense, but brittle. Their muscles are strong, but they tire quickly. Most importantly, they rely heavily on pheromone communication. If we can disrupt that..." Young-Soo looked up from the alien weapon he was disassembling. "You mean we can make them fight each other?" "Exactly," Ha-Young smiled. "I've been analyzing their chemical signals. I think I can synthesize false messages." The plan was dangerous and had never been tried before, but the humans were learning that sometimes the impossible was the only option left. The elite hunter castes arrived 3 days later. Their ships were works of art and terror, covered in trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds. Their leader was Sektar the Render, a legendary warrior who had personally killed over 10,000 sentient beings. Sektar expected to end the human resistance within hours. He had studied the reports and decided that the previous hunters had simply been too gentle. These humans needed to be taught their place through overwhelming violence. The attack began at midnight. Elite Vorthak warriors moved through the darkness, with perfect stealth, their advanced armor making them nearly invisible. They planned to strike the human command center and capture the leaders alive. They never made it past the colony's outer defenses. Taemin had spent days studying the captured alien equipment. He understood their technology now, including their stealth systems. More importantly, he understood their weaknesses. The humans had prepared surprises that the Vorthak could never have expected. Heat sensors that detected body warmth through stealth fields. Sound traps that recorded alien footsteps and played them back from different locations. Most cleverly, they had used Hai Young's research to create false pheromone trails. The elite hunters found themselves following scent trails that led them in circles. Their own superior senses, evolved over millions of years of hunting, had been turned against them. They became confused, lost, and separated from their hunting packs. That's when the humans struck. Taemin led the first human hunting party. They moved silently through the colony streets using the aliens' own stealth technology copied from captured equipment. When they found isolated Vorthak warriors, they attacked without warning and without mercy. The humans left no survivors, but they did leave messages. By dawn, the elite hunter castes had lost half their number. The survivors found the bodies of their packmates arranged in careful patterns. Written in Vorthak symbols using alien blood were simple messages. The humans are coming. You are the prey now. We hunt the hunters. Sektar stared at the messages, with something he had never felt before: fear. In his entire career, he had never seen prey leave psychological warfare messages for their predators. It was unnatural. It was wrong. It was terrifying. The fear spread through the Vorthak forces like a disease. Warriors who had never shown weakness began having nightmares. Some refused to leave their ships. Others demanded immediate evacuation from the planet. Commander Kell found himself losing control of his own forces. The mighty Vorthak Empire, which had ruled the galaxy through fear for thousands of years, was learning what it felt like to be afraid, but the humans were just getting started. Donghyun Ryu had been the colony's chief pilot before the attack. He had managed aircraft and atmospheric shuttles, but never a spacecraft. When Taemin's team captured an intact Vorthak fighter, Donghyun volunteered to learn how to fly it. It's insane, Sujin told him as he studied the alien controls. You've never flown anything like this. I've never fought aliens before either, Donghyun replied. We're all learning new skills these days. It took him 2 days to understand the basic controls. On the third day, he took the captured fighter on its first test flight. The Vorthak warriors watching from their ships could not believe their eyes. A human was flying one of their own aircraft. More than that, he was flying it better than most. Vorthak pilots Donghyun had something the aliens lacked: creativity. Vorthak pilots were trained to follow specific tactics and formations. Human pilots were trained to improvise and adapt. When Donghyun engaged a Vorthak patrol in aerial combat, he used maneuvers that their computers had never seen before. The sight of their own fighter destroying 2 Vorthak patrol craft sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. If humans could master Vorthak technology so quickly, what else were they capable of? Word of the human resistance had begun to spread beyond the colony planet. Mira's communications had reached other species across the galaxy. For the first time in galactic history, enslaved races were hearing about prey that fought back successfully. The Kalari, a peaceful species that had been hunted by the Vorthak for centuries, sent secret messages of support. They couldn't provide weapons or ships, but they shared intelligence about Vorthak weak points and tactics. The crystalline Vexhai, who communicated through light patterns, began flashing hidden signals to human observers. Their mathematical knowledge helped humans improve their targeting systems and predict Vorthak movement patterns. Most importantly, other species began to believe that resistance was possible. If humans could fight the Vorthak and win, maybe they could too. Hi. Warlord Thex received reports of unrest throughout the Empire. Slave revolts were breaking out on dozens of worlds. His own warriors were becoming reluctant to accept hunting missions. Some were even deserting entirely, claiming they would rather face exile than fight humans. What are these creatures? Thex, demanded of his advisors. They fight like warriors, think like strategists, and inspire like leaders. They're supposed to be primitive prey. His chief advisor, an ancient Vorthak named Gorth, spoke carefully. Perhaps, my lord, we have made an error in classification. Perhaps these humans are not prey at all. Then what are they? Gorth's answer would haunt Thex for the rest of his life. Perhaps they are better hunters than we are. The battle for the human colony had become something more than a simple hunt. It had become a test of two different philosophies. The Vorthak believed in domination through strength and fear. The humans believed in protection through unity and intelligence. As the conflict continued, it was becoming clear which philosophy would prevail. The hunters were learning what it meant to be hunted, and they were discovering that they did not like the experience at all. Taman stood on the colony's highest building looking up at the Vorthak ships in orbit. Soon he knew this local battle would spread across the galaxy. Other species were watching, other victims were hoping. The humans had started something that could not be stopped. The age of Vorthak dominance was coming to an end. The age of human protection was about to begin. Admiral So-Young Kwan stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force battleship Unity, watching the blue planet grow larger on the main screen. She had received Mira's distress signal 3 months ago and immediately launched the fastest rescue fleet Earth could assemble. What she expected to find was either a destroyed colony or scattered survivors hiding from alien hunters. What she found instead changed everything. "Admiral," reported Captain Jae-sung. Oh, from his position at the sensor station. "I'm reading multiple alien ships in orbit, but they're not attacking. They're retreating." So-Young studied the tactical display with amazement. The Vorthak fleet was pulling back from the planet, moving to defensive positions. Several alien ships showed battle damage. Most surprising of all, there were human energy signatures coming from what appeared to be captured Vorthak vessels. "Open a channel to the colony," she ordered. Daeho's weathered face appeared on the screen, but he looked different from the colonial administrator she remembered. His eyes held the hard confidence of a military commander who had seen battle and won. "Admiral Kwan," he said with a slight smile. "Welcome to New Seoul. As you can see, we're still here." "Daeho, what happened?" "Our long-range sensors showed a massive alien fleet attacking your colony." "They did attack," Daeho replied. "But they learned something they didn't expect. Humans don't make good prey." The rescue fleet soon learned the full story. The colonists had not just survived the Vorthak attack, they had turned the hunters into the hunted. They had captured alien ships, weapons, and technology. Most importantly, they had captured something else: the respect and attention of every enslaved species in the galaxy. Dr. Yoonji Shin, a military psychologist who had come with the rescue fleet, interviewed the captured Vorthak prisoners. What she learned fascinated and disturbed her. "They're suffering from something I can only call predator shock," she reported to Admiral Kwan. "Their entire society is built around being the apex predator. They literally cannot understand how prey animals could be dangerous to them. It's causing psychological breakdowns throughout their military." Captain Jae-sung-oh had been assigned to study the captured Vorthak ships. He was amazed by what the colonists had accomplished. "They've actually improved the alien technology," he told the admiral. "Human engineering principles applied to Vorthak designs have created hybrid systems that are better than either species could build alone." Hyung-Soo Lee showed him through the modified vessels with obvious pride. "We learned their technology, but we didn't copy it exactly. We made it better. Vorthak engineers designed for intimidation and status. Human engineers designed for efficiency and reliability." The results spoke for themselves. The hybrid human Vorthak ships were faster, more maneuverable, and more heavily armed than the original alien designs. More importantly, they were built to be operated by crews working together, rather than by individual warriors competing for dominance. Admiral Kwan made a decision that would change galactic history. Instead of evacuating the colonists back to Earth, she would use Earth's resources to support their resistance. The human government had received reports of the Vorthak Empire's cruelty throughout the galaxy. Here was a chance to do something about it. "We're not just defending one colony anymore," she announced to her fleet commanders. "We're starting a galactic liberation campaign." Taemin-jo was promoted to general and given command of the new human liberation forces. His first mission was ambitious beyond anything attempted before: a coordinated strike against Vorthak hunting fleets in 3 different star systems. "The key is speed and surprise," he explained to his officers. "The Vorthak are used to hunting isolated prey. They don't know how to fight coordinated attacks across multiple fronts." The human strategy was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of trying to match the Vorthak ship for ship, the humans used superior tactics and coordination. Multiple small groups would attack simultaneously, forcing the aliens to divide their attention and resources. Most importantly, the humans filmed everything. Mira Choi had become the head of human psychological operations. Her job was to broadcast the battles across the galaxy, showing enslaved species that the mighty Vorthak could be defeated. Every human victory was recorded and transmitted to dozens of worlds. "Fear is a weapon," she explained to her team. "The Vorthak have used it for thousands of years to control the galaxy. Now we're going to use it against them." The first multi-system attack was a complete success. Human forces struck Vorthak hunting fleets near the Kalari homeworld, the Threnody colonies, and the Vexhai crystal fields. In each case, the humans arrived without warning, destroyed or captured the alien ships, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. But the humans didn't just fight and leave. They left messages. On every world they liberated, the humans left communication devices and weapons. They also left instructions: how to build simple but effective resistance networks, how to coordinate with other species, and most importantly, how to contact the human liberation forces for support. The psychological impact was devastating to the Vorthak Empire. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The Kalari had stopped surrendering when hunting fleets arrived. The Threnody were using their shape-shifting abilities to infiltrate Vorthak ships. The Vexhai were sharing their mathematical knowledge to help other species improve their weapons. For the first time in galactic history, the prey animals were working together. Commander Kale found himself facing something he had never imagined: a coordinated rebellion spanning dozens of star systems. His hunting fleets were being ambushed, captured, or destroyed. Worse yet, the aliens they had once hunted for sport were now hunting them. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his advisors. "One small human colony has inspired an entire galactic uprising. They're just one species." His chief tactical officer, a scarred veteran named Loktar, had a disturbing answer. "Perhaps that's exactly why they're so dangerous, Commander. They don't fight just for themselves. They fight for everyone." The concept was alien to Vorthak thinking. They were individualistic predators who competed with each other as much as they hunted other species. The idea of fighting to protect strangers, of risking their lives for the benefit of others, was completely foreign to their psychology. High Warlord Thex was facing the greatest crisis in Vorthak history. His empire was falling apart as rebellions spread from world to world. His own warriors were deserting rather than face human-led coalition forces. Some were even joining the rebellion, claiming that the humans had shown them a better way to live. "We must destroy their homeworld," Thex declared to the Galactic Hunting Council. "If we eliminate Earth, the rebellion will collapse." But even this desperate plan faced obstacles. The humans had shared their technology with their allies. The Kalari provided intelligence about Vorthak movements. The Threnody infiltrated enemy ships to sabotage weapons and communications. The Vexhai used their mathematical abilities to predict and counter Vorthak strategies. The Battle of Vorthak Prime's outer system became the turning point of the war. Admiral So Young Kwan led a coalition fleet of humans and liberated species against the Vorthak 7th Hunting Armada, the most powerful military force in the Empire. The battle was broadcast live across the galaxy by Mira's communication network. Billions of enslaved beings watched as the mighty Vorthak fleet was systematically destroyed by their former prey. The sight of Vorthak ships fleeing in terror sent shockwaves throughout the Empire. Captain Jae Sung Oh commanded the flagship of the human fleet, a massive vessel that combined Earth military technology with captured Vorthak systems and contributions from dozens of allied species. It was a symbol of what could be accomplished when different races worked together, instead of trying to dominate each other. All Vorthak vessels, this is Captain O of the Galactic Liberation Fleet. He broadcast on open channels. You have two choices. Surrender now and join us in building a better galaxy, or continue fighting and face the same fate as your fleet. For the first time in galactic history, an entire Vorthak battle fleet surrendered without a fight. The news reached every corner of the galaxy within hours. The unstoppable Vorthak Empire had been stopped. The eternal hunters had been hunted, to the point of surrender. The impossible had become reality. General Tai Min-jo received reports of Vorthak surrenders from dozens of systems. Many alien warriors were laying down their weapons and asking to join the liberation forces. They had seen what humans accomplished through cooperation and unity, and they wanted to be part of it. We're not conquerors, Taemin reminded his officers. We're liberators. Any Vorthak who genuinely wants to change their ways should be given that chance. The humans had learned something important during their struggle. The most effective way to defeat an enemy was not to destroy them, but to show them a better way to live. As reports of victory after victory reached the human colony on New Sol, Dae-ho Kim stood once again in his old office. But now, instead of managing supply shipments and settling neighbor disputes, he was coordinating liberation efforts across an entire galaxy. The small colonial administrator had become something he never expected, the leader of a galactic revolution. And it had all started because humans refused to be prey. Emperor Vorthak had not left his palace in over 200 years. The ancient ruler of the Vorthak Empire was older than most civilizations, his massive body more machine than flesh, after centuries of cybernetic enhancements. When news of the Galactic Rebellion reached him, he did something that shocked his entire court. He stood up from his throne. "Prepare my war fleet," the Emperor commanded, his voice echoing through the palace halls like thunder. "If my hunters cannot deal with these humans, then I will show them how the hunt is truly done." The Imperial Guard was the Emperor's personal army, warriors who had been enhanced beyond normal Vorthak biology. They were stronger, faster, and more deadly than any hunter in the Empire. They had never been defeated in battle because they had never needed to fight. Their reputation alone was enough to terrify entire civilizations into submission, but reputation would not be enough against the humans. Fleet Admiral Dae-ho Kim stood in the command center of the Liberation Fleet's flagship, watching the massive Vorthak Imperial ships emerge from hyperspace. The Emperor had brought everything: 1,000 warships, the legendary Void Hunters, and enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. "Admiral," reported Captain Jae Sung-oh from his battle station, "the Emperor is broadcasting on all frequencies." Emperor Vorthak's ancient face appeared on screens throughout the human fleet. His eyes glowed with mechanical implants, and his voice carried the weight of millennia of absolute power. "I am Vorthak, Emperor of the Galaxy, Master of all life. You humans have amused me with your small rebellion, but now it ends. Surrender immediately, and I will grant you quick deaths instead of eternal suffering in my arena." Admiral Dae-ho stepped forward to respond. The former colonial administrator had come a long way from managing supply shipments. Now he spoke for an entire galactic alliance. "I am Admiral Dae-ho Kim, representing the free peoples of the galaxy," he replied calmly. "Your empire of fear and cruelty is over. Today, we finish what you started when you tried to hunt us." The Emperor's laughter was like grinding metal. "You dare threaten me? I have ruled this galaxy since before your species discovered fire. I have eaten the hearts of 1,000,000 worlds. You are nothing but prey pretending to be predators." "No," Dae-ho said quietly. "We are protectors, and there's nothing more dangerous than someone fighting to protect their family." The final battle began in the space above Vorthak Prime. The Emperor's fleet was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. The human-led coalition was smaller, but had advantages the Emperor could not understand: coordination, innovation, and the desperate courage of freed slaves fighting for their future. General Sujin Park commanded the ground assault forces. Her job was to reach the Emperor's palace and capture or eliminate the center of Vorthak power. It would be the most dangerous mission of the war, requiring soldiers to fight through the Imperial capital while space battles raged overhead. "Remember," she told her troops before the attack began, "we're not here for revenge. We're here to end this war and free the galaxy. Every Vorthak who surrenders lives to see the new world we're building." Chief Engineer Young-Soo Lee had spent months preparing for this battle. He had modified human weapons with technology from a dozen different species. His engineers had created bombs that could crack planet surfaces and shields that could stop Imperial Guard energy weapons. Most importantly, they had built something the Emperor had never seen before: planet restoration devices. "We're not just going to defeat them," Young-Soo explained to his team. "We're going to show them how to heal the damage they've done to the galaxy." The space battle was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships fought alongside Kalari stealth vessels, Threnody shapeshifter infiltrators, and Vex-High crystal computers that could predict enemy movements. The coalition forces moved like a single organism, each species contributing their unique abilities to the common goal. Emperor Vorthak watched his mighty fleet being systematically destroyed by creatures he had considered inferior. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had forgotten existed: doubt. "How are they defeating us?" he demanded of his advisors. "We have superior numbers, superior weapons, superior warriors." His chief scientist, Dr. Yexmol, had been studying the human tactics throughout the war. "They fight differently than us, my Emperor. We fight as individuals competing for glory. They fight as a group working toward a common goal. Each species, in their alliance, makes the others stronger." "Impossible!" the Emperor roared. "The strong rule the weak. That is the law of nature." "Perhaps," the scientist said carefully. "Nature has more than one law." The battle for the Imperial Palace was fierce, but brief. General Sujin Park's forces moved through the city like a coordinated dance. Human soldiers provided heavy firepower, while Kalari scouts found hidden passages. Threnody infiltrators disabled security systems, while Vex-High computers predicted defensive positions. The Imperial Guard fought with desperate fury, but they had been trained to fight other Vorthak in individual combat. They had no experience fighting coordinated teams that shared information and supported each other. One by one, the Emperor's elite warriors fell to enemies they could not understand. Emperor Vorthak made his final stand in his throne room, surrounded by the bones and trophies of 1,000 conquered civilizations. When Admiral Daeho entered the chamber, the ancient ruler was waiting with weapons in all 4 of his cybernetic arms. "You want to challenge the apex predator of the galaxy?" Vorthak snarled. "Come then, little human. Let me show you what 10,000 years of evolution has created." The Emperor was faster and stronger than any human could ever be. His weapons could cut through steel. His armor could stop nuclear explosions, and his reflexes were enhanced by quantum computers. By every measure, he should have been an unbeatable opponent. But Daeho had something the Emperor could never understand. As they fought, the Admiral spoke calmly, despite dodging death strikes. "You think being an apex predator makes you strong, but you're wrong. You've never learned the most important lesson in nature." "What lesson?" Vorthak demanded, pressing his attack. "Pack hunters always beat lone predators," Daeho replied. Throne room doors burst open. General Sujin Park entered with a squad of human soldiers. Captain Jae-Sung Oh arrived with Kalari stealth specialists. Chief Engineer Young-Soo Lee brought Threnody shapeshifters and Vex-High crystal warriors. Representatives from dozens of liberated species filled the chamber. Emperor Vorthak found himself facing not one opponent, but an entire galactic alliance. For the first time in his existence, he was outnumbered by creatures he had always considered prey. "This is not honorable combat," he protested. "This is not combat," Admiral Daeho said gently. "This is rescue. We're here to save you from being a monster." The final confrontation was not the epic battle anyone expected. Faced with overwhelming evidence that his empire had fallen and his philosophy had failed, Emperor Vorthak simply stopped fighting. The ancient ruler looked around at the former prey species standing united against him, and finally understood what he had been too arrogant to see. Humans were not better predators than the Vorthak. They were something entirely different. Protectors, who turned prey animals into partners, enemies into allies, and fear into hope. "What will you do with me?" the Emperor asked, his weapons falling from his hands. "Help you learn to be something better than a predator," Deho replied. "If you're willing to try." The Vorthak Empire officially surrendered 3 days later. Emperor Vorthak, stripped of his cybernetic enhancements and mechanical weapons, signed the Galactic Protection Accord that would reshape civilization throughout the galaxy. The humans established their headquarters on Earth, but the new galactic government was truly cooperative. Every species had representatives, every world had a voice, and every citizen had protection from those who would hunt them. Some Vorthak chose to integrate into the new society, learning to use their strength to protect instead of to dominate. Others chose exile to remote regions where they could live without harming others. A few continued to resist, but they found no support from their own people or anyone else in the galaxy. Admiral Dae-Ho Kim, now an elderly statesman, often visited the peaceful colonies that had once been Vorthak hunting grounds. On one such visit to a mixed community where former enemies worked together, he watched Vorthak children playing with human children while their parents discussed trade agreements. Young Vorthak approached him, one of the new generation that had grown up in the free galaxy. "Admiral Kim, my teacher says you were the one who defeated Emperor Vorthak. How did humans become such great hunters?" Deho smiled and knelt down to the child's level. "We didn't become great hunters, young one. We became great protectors. And it turns out that protecting others makes you stronger than hunting them ever could." The child thought about this for a moment. "So the best predator is the one who doesn't hunt?" "The best predator," Deho said gently, "is the one who makes sure no one needs to be prey." As the old admiral watched the children play together under alien suns, he reflected on how far they had all come. The galaxy had learned that true strength came not from being the apex predator, but from making sure everyone could live without fear. Humanity had never wanted to be the hunters.